Hi, and welcome to Filmmakers Compass Podcast, a show where we talk about movies and, well, more movies. I'm D-Man, joined by CP. And CP, this week,
D-Man,
while we are going to talk a little bit about a movie that just released, we're also going to be looking backwards this week. It's been a while since we've done sort of a,
I was thinking that same thing.
Total
been a while
rewind
since we,
over here.
yeah, for sure.
So that's pretty cool. I'm excited to announce that this week, we're probably just going to talk about it in the box office breakdown, but Supergirl released and we both had the chance to see that. And then we're going to dive into a movie that you actually picked up and we decided that was worth talking about, is Logan's Run.
Yes, sir.
So pretty excited. It was fun to watch, if anything, because I haven't seen that movie. I don't know if I've ever actually seen it all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
And I always remember that reference in Friends.
I was going to say the sexiest movie ever.
Yeah, Logan's Run. Yeah, so we're going to talk about that, and I'm excited to dive into that conversation. But before we do have just a couple shout outs this week. So first up, in regards to Supergirl, Ivor chimed in on your release video where you give your sort of rundown on your thoughts on the movie. He said, I thought the same as you. It was not as bad as everyone suggested. So, which I thought was interesting because we do live in that era of podcasters and influencers where, like, to have a hot take these days, you either have to love something and go against the grain, or you have to absolutely hate it and it's the worst thing that's ever been made. So I think we both felt, and we'll talk about it a little bit when we get into the box office breakdown, but it falls more in the middle. And Ivor, I agree with your take. So, which I hate saying, and not because it's you, Ivor, because proxy, that also means I agree with CP. Don't like that. No, I'm just kidding. I think we all had a fun time with that. So Anthony, shout out, actually chimed in on Instagram and said 4 out of 10. The story was all over the place. So fair enough. Anthony's actually been a guest on the podcast before. He really enjoys comic book movies. He's a huge Batman guy and loves DC, particularly the Snyderverse. So he's a big fan of Batman and was not a fan of Supergirl. So, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot more to that he could say and that we'll probably get into. But Jeffo3001 chimed in and said, honestly, how did you like it? So we're going to talk about it, Jeff. I got that same comment from shout out to Art, who was like, of course, it's me chiming in my DMs. He's like, what were your thoughts? And we will talk about it a little bit. So thank you guys for commenting. Really appreciate that. This is a comment that I actually read last week, but I'm going to do a shout out again for Eric Drucker because he's talking about Supergirl as well. And he said, I didn't see it. My family went and saw it, though. Parents and brother. Parents liked it. Brother did not. So I doubt I'll see it until it's out on streaming. So thanks again, Drucker, for the comment. But now it's relevant to the movie we're actually talking about, Supergirl, and all of our shout outs. So appreciate that. And I did post a photo, CP, of Anthony and I at the AMC at the Supergirl, like, promotional.
Yep, I saw it, dude. I saw it.
Yeah. So Anthony's striking a pose, and Steph chimed in, my wife, and said, nice photo though, LOL. So we had fun with that, and that was kind of cool. So Anthony, it was fun going to the movies with you as always. And hopefully we'll be seeing the Odyssey really soon. That actually does it for most of our shout outs this week, CP. So one of the things that we usually do is just a birthday shout out. So we'll round this out with a big happy birthday to Danielle. Hope you had an amazing birthday. And then Jay, Stephanie A, and John. I hope all of you had amazing birthdays.
Happy birthdays, everyone. Happy birthday.
All right. Well, that does it for our shout outs this week, CP. Relatively quick, but I'm going to throw it over to you now for our box office breakdown.
Sadly, I think that this box office is incredibly vanilla compared to a couple of the really exciting weeks that we had back in May and June.
It's true.
And it's pretty predictable. Number 5 is Disclosure Day, which previously was also number 5 in the box office. So despite some of the negative press on that one, Spielberg's still in the top. It's made $216 million worldwide, which
it's only okay for Spielberg.
Yeah, right. I'm like, I mean, I don't think it was the bomb that it could have been, but also like it hasn't kicked
there was
ass like I think we were expecting.
Yeah, there was some positive box office spin. I think it had one of the largest, if not the largest, opening weekend, at least domestically, I think, for Spielberg, which is a win. But yeah, the word of mouth on it was not great. Obviously, when we talked about it on the podcast, there were a couple people that responded that they're going to pass on going to the movies.
Yep.
So clearly, even if it's just our show, but if you extend that out to all the movie influencers and podcasters and stuff, I'm assuming that some people have opted not to go to the theater.
No, I definitely agree. And that's obviously very evident. Another movie that has the same problem, number 4, previously number 2, and it's only on the second week in the box office, and that's Supergirl, which almost an 80% drop off from when it premiered in the box office. So not a good sign. It has made just north of $102 million.
At least they crossed that threshold.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know there's fear that wasn't going to happen. So,
yeah. I mean, kind of a bummer. I had high hopes for the movie, but I mean, the tracking for it going into its opening weekend, and then by extension, people commenting on the final trailers and some of the stuff, it was pretty negative. I think I even made a week or two ago, I made a video about like, what's happening here? Why is everything surrounding this movie so negative? And it appears it did affect the box office and the perception of the film.
So number 3, which this is the first weekend in the box office, came off the day before the 4th of July, and that is Young Washington. Have you heard much about it, D-Man?
I haven't heard that much about it. I did see a trailer for it or at least a commercial for it. And I don't know if it's on my list to get to right away. I mean, I actually am a huge Jackass fan, so I'd still like to see if I can make the theater for that. Steph hasn't seen Toy Story 5, and then there's a movie called The Invite, which I'm interested in checking out. Plus, we have The Odyssey coming up, like I mentioned. So box office, the theater's still busy. So I'll see what I can make it to.
Yep. I've heard good stuff. Definitely on my list at one point. Would love to check it out. Number 2, previously number 1. This is the movie that's doing exactly what we expected it to, and that is Toy Story 5. A couple weeks in, it's $768 million.
Holy cow.
We know it's going to cross the $1 billion threshold. Exactly what, good legacy IP does in the box office, which is it gets people to show up and watch the movie.
What was the weekly on that?
The change?
No, I mean, just like, what did it do? I'm curious because I know it was like it had like a monster opening weekend, like 150 million, then like 70 million. I wonder, where it was at this week.
Well, let's check and see exactly what it did.
Because, I mean, Toy Story is obviously an insanely popular IP and profitable IP, but like, week over week, I imagine the drops have been high, but the number is so high, like half of 150 million.
Yeah. I mean, it's still making like almost $100 million a week. So yeah, not bad in any way.
That's
for Disney. Kind of the exactly the movie that they wanted that in every single way.
Well, they still have some properties. We're probably going to see this with Spider-Man, Toy Story's right there. There are some properties that it's like, I mean, you're still going to get major box office business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then just opening this past week, new, and it has taken over the box office, and that is Minions and Monsters, which I'm not going to lie, D-Man. Granted, I'm not a child. I do not understand the appeal of Minions in the sense that I feel like Universal does whatever they can to crank these movies out. And I mean, it works. It's made $166 million in 1 week.
Yeah, it's incredibly popular. I do notice there's something about the Minions that just attracts kids. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's the color or the way they talk or what it is, something about them, it's like kids can't help but
Yeah,
like it.
it's wild, dude.
So
It
for
is
whatever reason,
wild.
it draws. But I mean, it's like one of those things. Like, what did we talk about? Kong versus Godzilla, the Fast and the Furious series. They set these things, around the world, and then you release them to, international audience, and the movies draw money. So even if the film itself is not that good, or even doesn't hit general audiences, it's like the people who want to see it turn out.
Mm-hmm. It's wild. I just, considering that the Minions are a spin-off of another property, it's wild how successful that's really become.
Yeah, it's probably one of Universal's more profitable IPs at this point. I know
Mm-hmm.
for a while, I know it was DreamWorks, but like Ice Age got quite a few sequels and spin-offs, but that's kind of dried up.
Mm-hmm.
I think even at one point, I don't know who had it, but Hotel Transylvania, it might have been DreamWorks as well,
Yeah.
was getting some sequels and continually pumping out content, but or movies.
Yep.
Now it's Minions. They're still going strong.
It's wild, man. They find them and they just, wring everything that they can out of them. So, anyway, that is the box office. Let's get into talking about the really interesting movie in it, which is Supergirl, now that you've finally seen it.
Yeah, a couple people, Art, Jeff, asked us what their thoughts were. And obviously, I've had a few people just in conversation bring it up as well. And what's really interesting about the movie is more the discussion around the movie, I think, than our critical thoughts on like what worked and what didn't work. To me, you said this in your review, and it was my thoughts really as well, that it's kind of like a standard superhero film. It's not doing anything innovative or new within the space. And there's even some moments and some jokes that feel completely recycled. Like one that stood out to me is like she calls an alien Squidward. And I was like, I mean, Tony Stark did that in Infinity War. Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
literally
right.
had this exact same joke. And I know you guys saw Infinity War that made this movie because everyone in the world saw it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like, it has that vibe to it of like nothing new, nothing crazy. Even the theme of just like being good. It's dealing with overcoming some trauma, which I actually like as a theme. I think it works really well, even for the character, sort of being in a dark spot. I think the theme works. I just think a lot of what they're doing with the film doesn't work in conjunction with that theme.
No, and I agree. And I mean, and to take it even further, I mean, I think the visual look of the places that they go, we've seen before.
It's actually
Um,
really bland. It's like just like desert. It reminds me of Thor: The Dark World. Like when they go to that planet, it's just like this
yeah,
barren wasteland. You're like, it's not even interesting to look at, really.
that's exactly it. But the CGI looks like the same bland superhero CGI that we see everywhere.
Yeah, serviceable. It's fine.
And what's even weirder to me is the fact that, like, tonally, it wasn't funny enough to be a comedy. It wasn't adventuresome enough to be this kind of, planet hopping galactic story that it could have been. It didn't have enough heart to really be the story of a superhero finding their way. It was just sort of blah all around.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, the themes. There's this idea of this character Ruthie wanting to get revenge, which does tie in to trauma because she experienced the death of her family and wants revenge on obviously the person that committed that act.
Mm-hmm.
But the villain themselves doesn't seem to challenge this at all. I mean, the movie itself almost suggests that he killed her family because of a misunderstanding, because her brother jumped out and
Mm-hmm.
tried to scare her. So accidentally killed him. Like not
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
went there with he killed the kid and then he's like, well, I guess I got to kill everybody. Like whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it just didn't like factor in really well. I did like the climactic finish, which is essentially Supergirl telling Ruthie, like, you don't want to become a murderer. You don't want that to be your trauma going forward and carry that burden with you. So she basically unburdens her and takes it on herself, which is fine. It kind of works for the theme. But like then there's this whole story about like these girls being trafficked by this. And it's like, I just don't really get how all this like ties together.
No, and I'm with you. And again, like Supergirl's presenting like, hey, this is not the trauma you want to deal with, right? But it's
Yeah.
not like Supergirl herself in her history was, like, oh, I killed someone via revenge and have been regretting it the whole time. And now I'm passing it on so someone doesn't make the same mistake,
Right.
right?
It
Like,
doesn't link
I'm
up
like,
right.
it's not really going full circle.
I also think Supergirl doesn't for being in a dark place, as dark a place as she is when the movie starts. I don't even know exactly what that moment is in this movie where she just has a realization or overcomes this trauma. Like, her trauma being that like her home planet was destroyed and then the one that she's left with is poisoned and her parents die and send her alone into space.
well,
And
but
she's
even, and I would even argue though, the movie isn't like, it's not like she's this degenerate at the beginning of the film because she's like, oh, everything that happened on Krypton and afterwards, like this trauma haunts me and I haven't been able to move past it. It's presented as though she's like, I go to Earth and like it's just kind of boring there, so I'd rather just find a way to go get drunk on all these red sun planets where I can actually feel alcohol. Like,
kind of.
but it's not presented as me as though she's truly dealing with this emotional wound that later they reference. And I'm like, I mean, it
Well,
seems like you're just 21 and wanted to party.
yeah, and Anthony pointed this out too, which is they use crypto again as a major plot device for plot momentum, which is in Superman, crypto is taken by Lex Luthor and Superman has to try to find his dog who's been captured. And in this one, crypto gets shot by a poisonous dart and is going to die in 3 days. And they have to go find the antidote, which is just, happens to be on these people, which is fine. I thought the explanation they give for why they carry the antidote on persons makes sense. They use it for interrogation. So I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like if you're going to poison somebody and then not let them know you have the antidote, or even if you do, you're like, you'd have to have it with you.
Yeah.
But so they're using crypto again in that manner, which it's okay. But again, I just don't really see how it like factors into this whole like trauma thing. It just feels like a plot device to like do anything at all.
Yeah. And I mean, and I'm not going to lie, I'm not a crypto fan to begin with in these films. So it's not like I have this major emotional attachment to him,
Yeah.
which I thought was a little bit of a stretch because they ask from the audience when you watch the trailer and go to the movie is you have to be invested in the fact that crypto could die.
Yeah. And a lot of people that saw Superman, I mean, crypto was not their favorite. He's actually like, as far as dogs go, he's maybe not even the cutest dog. But then you actually factor in the fact that he's very troublesome and is, everybody's probably had a dog that's just too wild. And you're like, I love you, but I hate you.
Yeah.
Like,
So
stop.
I thought that was weird. The other thing is, I mean, the villains are essentially just space Vikings, but everyone acknowledges that they're kind of assholes. It's not like there's any real complexity behind them as
No origin story. They're just kind
like
of selfish
bullies.
and evil. Yeah. They're just kind of like, we take what we want, we pillage and we just, take what we want.
Yeah. And you're like, cool.
Okay, I guess. Not inherently anything wrong with that, I suppose. It's just, if you were hoping for, a villain that really challenges your character or even the theme of the story, a good example is always the Joker and Batman. Like Batman, represents this concept of order and making sure that he has his rules and all this, and the Joker represents chaos. And so like they just naturally like the Joker can't hang out over here and Batman can't hang out over here. Like they just will collide because you can't have it. It didn't feel like, it just felt like the villain, like they're just sort of chasing him just to get the antidote. Like he's not even really doing anything to them specifically.
Well, and then I think the major strength of the film is Lobo, played by Jason Momoa, who is awesome and such the embodiment of who that character is.
Yeah, he was hilarious.
The problem is he is not a small enough character to just have an awesome cameo.
Yeah,
but he's not big enough, I think, to be what he should have been, where he really should have been a co-star in this movie. and the character's kind of relegated down to this kind of middle space. I think it's much more, it should have been like, in Thor Ragnarok, how the Hulk was, right?
Yeah, I get you.
I don't think Lobo was integral enough to the story to take advantage of Jason Momoa playing this character.
Exactly. I agree. And I hate characters like Ruthie, where they just constantly get into trouble. They keep getting captured.
The wrong thing because they're
dumb. Like the perfect example is anytime you've seen a character where the hero or whoever is like, stay here, don't move. And then of course they move and get captured. And, it feels so played out and basic at this point. I'm like, I kind of wish you would just die because that would make this story.
Some of these people need to learn their lesson.
Yeah. Like if you weren't here, right?
Yeah.
None of this would have happened. This story could have been over an hour ago. It's only continued because you suck. That's not a good character. It doesn't make me want to root for them.
No, I totally agree. I totally agree.
The other thing, and maybe this is just me, but okay, you tell me whether I'm crazy or not, but there's a couple of action sequences where they are borrowing heavily from James Gunn's style of revolving action, where like so much is happening that while it was happening, I was almost like nothing is happening. I'm like, it's almost so overbearing. And these James Gunn style action sequences to me are getting so tiring. Like the original one that he did was like the jailbreak with the Guardians and Guardians 1. And then in the second one, he has the whole like arrow and whistle thing where he plays music and it just goes around the ship and kills everybody. Then you have in Superman, the Mr. Terrific scene on the beach and Superman fighting all those people in the sky. And now there's like 2 or 3 more sequences, whether it was in a bar, at the end, on a ship, in this movie. And I'm like, for as innovative as that felt in Guardians 1, I was like, there's nothing happening here. This basically is fight scene happens. Now what happens next? Like, I don't know what to tell you. It's almost jarring at this point.
I think that for me, stylistically, this was the biggest issue I had with the movie. This felt like a movie that was trying to be a James Gunn movie. Now, the director has come out and said, James Gunn stepped in and made me do all these massive edits, and this wasn't the movie I originally created. Whether that's true or not, I mean, I have to give him the benefit of the doubt. But the point is, this feels like part of the failure is this was not intended to look like a James Gunn movie.
Ugh, and it's not good.
And then they're like, well, let's just do it in James Gunn style without James Gunn leading it. And it's even worse.
Yeah. Like for anybody, like if you're not sure what we're talking about, it's literally this sequence where the camera moves in almost a 360, or it's literally like following around, whichever way he wants to do it. And in essence, all that's happening is there's like a needle drop. This like song comes on that sort of is fun, I guess, but doesn't really match the tone of whatever it is. It's almost deliberately out of tone. And then it just like all this action happens. Mm-hmm. And they just take out everybody and there's like explosions in a 360 and then it's over. But it doesn't work for me anymore. Or like, okay, so a good example is in Days of Future Past, X-Men, you have the Quicksilver scene, which felt innovative at the time. I loved it. But after like a few more movies, I'm like, this is so tiresome. They keep doing the same thing in a different place. Now we're going to do it in the mansion. Now we're going to do it over here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, my God, you guys have played this out. Like it was cool once. And now I'm like over it.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
And then I think back to, of course I'm going to do a Star Wars reference, but like Darth Vader versus Luke Skywalker on Cloud City. You have 2 characters swinging lightsabers at each other fairly slowly. And I'm like, it draws me in every time. I'm like, this is so intense and insane. You don't need explosion. Like it's so overdone.
You need stakes and suspense. Like that's tension. What you need.
These feel like they're fight sequences just to get through.
Yeah.
Like there's no stakes. There's no tension in the fight scene. Like the song almost kills it, but I'm like, there's just no tension. And there's usually someone standing around watching it all. In this case, it's Ruthie like twice.
Well, and I mean,
it was Lois Lane and Superman. It was, I don't know.
No, you're right. And they have this, all the action sequences in this movie feel unwarranted. None of them are really that cool. Most of them don't actually advance the story in any way, because it seems like after the sequence, they kind of just end up exactly where they were.
Yeah, you need some sort of tension, some sort of stakes added to these sequences. I mean, God, if you even wanted to throw in a ticking clock, it might be the most basic thing you could ever do. But like, are they going to get it done fast enough to X, Y, or Z? Mm-hmm. Like, it's almost like it's like they're in a bar and then it's like, oh, obligatory fight scene. And then she's like, stay over here, Ruthie. And then Ruthie like stands over there and watches and then finally decides to do something and gets captured or whatever. But you're like, Jesus, do something more.
Yeah, I was not a fan, man.
So like I said, thematically, I kind of like what they were going for with Supergirl and Ruthie as their arcs and where that ends up. I don't think the villain challenges it in any meaningful way other than just being the person that they have to get revenge on. It doesn't seem very powerful. I don't know what the side story with the girls getting captured has to do with anything or why that's even in the movie. The Space Vikings don't seem like enough to me they're not fun enough. There's nothing going on there that seems like unique enough
to care.
It just feels sort of bland. But okay, I want to ask you then, if we're not talking about the movie specifically anymore, but we're talking about where it stands in this state of the DCEU and its box office performance, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I think it really comes down to a couple things. I mean, it kind of delivered, it's kind of performing how I expected to. For one, let's not kid ourselves. This is Supergirl. This is not Wonder Woman or, some of these other massively popular, and it's not even a male character, a female character. This is like a non-mainstream character.
Yeah.
Like, so to make this be the second character in the DCU felt like a miscue to begin with, especially since she's not integral enough that we're interested in her in Superman, right? Mm-hmm. She is totally a cameo. When you think about when they did the Wonder Woman movie that was really successful as part of the DCEU, mm-hmm. they introduced Wonder Woman and she had a sizable integral part in Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
Right.
We all know she might have had the most epic moment in that movie.
Yeah. Right. And so you're like, okay, cool. Well, we just watched a movie and Wonder Woman's super badass in this. We've already wanted to see a movie. Let's go see a Wonder Woman movie. We don't get that with Supergirl.
No, just that cameo in Superman. And it wasn't even that great of a cameo.
Right. Then on top of it, there's this super weird marketing campaign where they come out with the trailer for Supergirl and it's full of like teen angst. This whole like existential, they play this really dramatic kind of music and she's like, oh, if you die, I die, talking to her dog. And I'm like, this just doesn't look like a fun superhero movie in any way. And I'm the target demographic. I love DC Comics. I actually love Supergirl as a character. And I'm like, yeah, pass. So I just think that this was, pre-designated to be a total failure because it was marketed wrong. This was not the character to lean in on. Also, before the movie and after the movie, there's no bigger stakes for this universe that they're building.
Right.
So it's not like in the early phases of Marvel, how we're like, oh, well, we need to go see it to be a part of this story and be on the edge of what's going on.
Yeah.
I don't get it, man.
Well, that was one of the things. It's not that Marvel did this in particular, right? Like, I think the biggest Marvel characters before the MCU were like Spider-Man, the X-Men, maybe Hulk. Mm-hmm. You look back, it's not like Iron Man was this A-tier character, or even for that matter, Thor. So it's not necessarily that like DC has to bring their A players here, even though I agree with you. I think they should. They should just lean into that and bring the people. I think what you need is that momentum that Marvel built in phase 1 with the post-credits scene where Nick Fury's standing at the window and he turns around and he's like, this world is bigger than just you. But really, like, he's signaling to the audience, we're going to build to the Avengers is what we're going to do. Yeah. And so it made each subsequent film feel like must see.
Yep.
And they kept building this momentum over time by introducing the right characters, and sort of, they even titled the Captain America movie The First Avenger. Sort of, you know, they have that scene in Iron Man 2 where Coulson's like, hey, I have to go check out an incident in New Mexico. And then the post-credits scene is Thor's hammer in the desert in New Mexico. And you're like, yeah. Like, they need momentum. So if the original MCU phase 1 is building to the Avengers, and then just to, you know, really hammer home this point, what do they do at the end of Avengers? Thanos turns around and they're like, here's what we're building to next. We know exactly where this is going to go. So everybody's like, oh shoot, it's Thanos and the Infinity War, and like, it's going to go, you know, all that.
Yeah.
You look back at Superman and now Supergirl, and you're like, what do you build?
Well,
like,
this whole chapter 1, Gods and Monsters, right? That's what they're calling it.
But where? What is it?
Okay. We don't know who the gods are. I mean, I guess we could assume the Kryptonians, but we don't know who the monsters are. There's nothing more than, so far, this is the story about 2 people from a destroyed planet called Krypton. And I'm not going to lie, this isn't even the coolest version of Krypton that we have seen.
Nah, it's whatever.
Like, yeah. Like, we've sadly, like the version Zack Snyder gave us, the version Richard Donner gave us, the version that we freaking saw in the Krypton television series were all significantly cooler than what we've seen.
The one in the Donner series is amazing.
Yeah, right. And you're like, this isn't the best version of this story that we've seen. So what are we doing here, guys?
I also agree with you that I think this movie slots better in like a phase 2. You know, you look back at the original Guardians of the Galaxy, which, let's face it, they were probably C tier, D tier comic book characters at that time. Nobody really knew who they were except like people that attend Comic-Con and, you know, maybe have picked up those comics because all the other ones were sold out. I don't know. But like, the point is, Guardians of the Galaxy took off, but it really took off because it got the rub from the MCU. Now,
no, that movie doesn't make $1 billion without the first 2 phases of the MCU in front of it.
Right. So had you released Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's not related to Marvel, and it's the exact same movie or the MCU at all, do the people who go see that movie really like it? Yes. But I don't think you get general audiences wanting to go see it.
Yeah. No.
The reason they went is the rub that it has from the MCU. It felt like, oh, we need to see this movie because it's this intergalactic space thing, but we're building to Infinity Wars, so something's going to be in there that I can't miss. I got to go see it. Or these characters will somehow play an important role. And both those things happen, right? You have the Power Stone, and they were integral in Infinity War and Endgame. So you're like, no, it's totally like must see. I think you want to slot Supergirl somewhere around where Guardians got dropped, which is ironic because you would think James Gunn would know that.
Well, I mean, my whole issue with this, and I have reiterated this multiple times on this podcast, James Gunn needs to decide whether he is going to be the architect of this universe or a filmmaker in it. Because right now it feels like he's trying to do both. And quite frankly, I think that's a mistake. He's making the James Gunn DC superhero universe
in James Gunn style.
And it's not going to translate across directors and, you know, filmmakers and all that stuff. It feels weird.
Yeah, agreed. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on part of the reason why the movie did what it did. There was just such an opportunity to slot this somewhere else. And then also, to me, this felt a little bit like a side quest, like, because it doesn't deal with wherever the momentum is going. It feels like this side quest for Supergirl to Kara to go save her dog. I honestly believe if you're going to do a side quest movie or episode of something, it needs to be with like established characters. So we don't have to spend time trying to figure out who they are and, you know, the origin. Yeah. For what it's worth, it didn't do very well, but like Mando and Grogu, it's like, we know who they are from 3 seasons.
It's really easy to do a side quest.
Really, I mean, they just marketed it completely wrong. You know, maybe you do the marketing as like the ultimate side quest or something. But like, if you're going to do one, I feel like you would do it with characters like that, where they're already established. We already know who they are. We don't have to spend time trying to figure out what all this is. In this movie, we just don't know enough about her yet to just hang out with her. We need more to understand who she is, what motivates her, what's all happening. So I don't know. It just, but was it as bad as some of the reviews? I don't think so. I gave it about a 5 out of 10.
I think that's probably where I'd sit. I mean, granted, I'm a little biased. I think I'll tend to usually give the benefit of the doubt to DC just because I love their characters. But yeah, I mean, it's not abysmal. I mean, as I said in my review, it's not a terrible comic book movie. It's not a good movie.
Yeah.
But
there's been worse comic book movies.
By far worse, right? And we box it in that we're like, there's ones that have been way worse. Yeah, this isn't competing with The Godfather. Don't expect it to.
Yeah, right.
But within the comic book genre, I mean, we've seen worse, we've seen better.
Yeah. 5 out of 10, and Supergirl's worst crime is that it's probably skippable.
Yeah, it's weird to me in the sense that, like there's other movies we've seen come out from DC, like The Blue Beetle, which I'm a huge fan of, which also underperformed, awesome. But that's an incredible movie.
I enjoyed it a lot. Yeah. And we talked about that on the podcast all the way back. Maybe we'll have to go clip it. But Blue Beetle was cool. And it's funny because I don't know if that's even actually still a part of this like DCU or whatever anymore. Maybe it is. They haven't mentioned it. But it's interesting because you think James Gunn is really enamored with like Peacemaker, Suicide Squad, Creature Commandos, now Supergirl. He's really digging into these characters who I think he loves them. And I don't blame him for that. That's awesome. And I think it's cool that you want to give them all some time, but you got to build this up first. I mean, you had Superman and that was a great start, but like, we need this built up. We need momentum going somewhere before I'm all in on Creature Commandos. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're absolutely right, dude. You're absolutely right.
So that's where I'll leave it. I don't want to, we still want to talk Logan's
no,
here.
No,
so
I was going to say, let's shift over. Let's go back in time to a sci-fi movie that came out 50 years prior. So the reason why we picked Logan's Run is it's actually celebrating the 50th anniversary. It premiered back in like June 23rd, like 76. And I feel like this is the sci-fi movie that people have forgotten. There's a lot of really influential sci-fi movies from the late 70s, right? There's a lot of really kind of cutting edge popular ones from the 50s. And then kind of the sci-fi genre sort of tapered off and
it got real gritty,
luster.
A lot of anti-heroes.
Yeah. And I just think this is a really, really interesting movie. And in some ways it's probably more timely than ever. But when we take a look back at the sci-fi movies that are so influential, no one ever talks about Logan's Run. And I think rewatching it, we know some of the reasons why.
Yeah, I mean, the number one thing that stood out to me rewatching it is the effects do seem dated. I know they were, I think you mentioned in pre-production that they won either an Academy Award.
Won the Academy Award for Best Visual Effects. It won some Saturn Awards. Like it at the time, this was cutting edge cinema.
It just doesn't age well. Like the way I would describe it is like if you were to watch Back to the Future or, I don't know, maybe like a lot of 80s movies, the effects hold up, but the movie feels like it's aged well. It's easy to watch. This feels like it was released in 1976 and it feels like it's from like 1956. Like it feels older. And then when you look at its peers of that era that then push there's a line somewhere here where we move into the effects, which really it's probably Star Wars, but you're looking at 2001: A Space Odyssey. You mentioned Alien,
Blade
Star
Runner.
Wars, Blade Runner. You start to push effects in a way where it's like these movies all hold up really well.
They're so far above Logan's Run, they just set this tone of its own. Now, it's really weird because visually, I think a really good comp to Logan's Run is something like A Clockwork Orange, right? again, Stanley Kubrick's dealing with some really, it's much more of a conceptual sci-fi movie, right? He's trying to take a look at what could this dystopian, overarching government society be like? And that's the same thing that we're looking at in Logan's Run.
Yeah. It's actually funny. Like if you look at like iRobot, Blade Runner, Minority Report, I don't know. There's a lot of sci-fi movies that like you can actually see like narrative through lines where it's like these replicants need to be retired. And so there's Blade Runners in this, there's Sandmen.
Yeah.
In Minority Report, yes, you have pre-crime, cops or whatever, but and then you have somebody on the run and they're being chased and like,
yeah.
I don't know. I could see the parallels where a lot of this comes from. I mean, even iRobot, even though it's robots now instead of like people, it's robots that go rogue and they got to be retired.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Like as a plot device, I'm like, you could definitely see where it's influential. Like you mentioned, one of the things that stood out to me with like the effects though is they do these aerial shots coming in on the city, and they almost reminded me of like the Epcot model that like Disney introduced as like this is going to be Epcot. Like 10 years earlier. Yeah. Like Disney died in like 67 or something,
Yeah.
You're like, it almost looks like they just took a camera. They're like, let's just do that. And we'll like make it look like the skyline of the city, this futuristic city. Yeah. And I was like, ooh, that didn't age well. It looks like a model. And then there's a couple sets where to me, they look like 50 sets where like they sort of have a centerpiece and then they just black out the background. So you're like, don't worry about what
they do there. All this major matte work and you're like, I mean, that just looks like people walking down like a hallway.
Yeah, like just fill that in with your imagination or whatever. And you even mentioned, bring it up. You're like, some of the scenes, it looks like they're like running around a mall.
Right? So funny.
I could totally see that too, where, they have these sequences. Oddly enough, something that stood out to me. I thought Farrah Fawcett was like a bigger part of this movie.
Because it's Farrah Fawcett. Yeah, I agree. And she's like in 2 scenes.
Yeah, she's like kind of in it and not even a good character. Like it wasn't even great acting or anything. It felt like they put her in it to market her as part of this film.
Yeah, right.
Like what's the girl from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Margot Robbie's character.
Margot Robbie. Oh,
yeah, where like
yeah.
Like they would put her in movies like to just
Sharon
be able
Tate.
to Sharon Tate, yeah. Like she kind of gets knocked within the context of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But even if you go back in her career, like they're like, oh, she wasn't a very good actress, but we need someone and we need someone that's going to draw. They're like, get her.
Yeah.
So I thought that was funny. But I mean, one of the things too, that's really interesting, at least to me, is thematically what the novel's about and this movie's about. And it's this concept of age. That's still fascinating.
I think there's a lot going
Sci-fi deals with cool stuff
on there where we need to look at it from what was going on in the 70s, right? Probably a lot of people were thinking that they weren't going to make it beyond 30 with the threat of nuclear war.
True.
There was this fear of overpopulation, right? That's when the whole thing, like, well, we need to have less kids. Like the earth is going to be too populated. What are we going to do? But then like, I think one of the really interesting things going on with is there's the concept at the time of the generation gap, right?
Okay.
And you have boomers who are starting to come of age and they're looking at their parents in the greatest generation and they do not see eye to eye and they do not agree. And that's when there's that whole never trust anyone over 30, right? So that's exactly what's going on here. This is society of the boomers because we can't trust the people over 30. So this is our world. And once you get to 30, you're not one of us and you're as good as dead.
I mean, there's a few things that really stand out when you look at it. Like one is the main character actually says the line, like, I don't want to die. And that's interesting because it makes you realize that like life itself is relative to whatever number, right? If it's 30, it's 30, like in this movie. But if it's 100, like, 100. Humans have evolved to live that old, then it's 100. If it's 500 and that changes, because of AI or science or something, whenever your time is up, you're going to be like, I don't want to die.
Yeah. Right.
And so it almost doesn't matter what number you set that at. It's like, no one's going to want to go if you think you could have more time.
I agree.
And so even though people are at peace, and like in this case, they literally, what is it? They join the carousel for renewal.
Yeah.
Like okay, let's go ahead and just talk about this utopian society, I guess, which is people basically live for pleasure in this city, which is what it seems like. Because one scene basically is like an orgy.
It feels very Brave New World, right? It's like hang out, drink wine, go socialize with your friends, talk, go to the orgy, go to the gym, go change
don't raise
whatever
your
you
kids.
want.
Don't raise kids. We'll take care of it.
Yeah, and then don't pay for anything. But hey, at the end, we're gonna systematically just sort of, death chamber people, but we're calling it renewal because we're making people think that they're gonna come back.
Yeah. So basically, like everybody has a timer on their palm that gives them, a set amount of time, which basically is to the age of 30. And then you go on the carousel as part of renewal, and you're basically murdered. Even though they explicitly have a line from a Sandman, who is a cop who chases down people who opt not to go to the carousel for renewal and kill them. He actually says, "I've never killed anyone." Because like the way this is all set up is very cult-like.
Yeah.
Cults have gotten people to kill themselves. And it feels very cult-like in the sense that that's how you would have to manage something like this in order for it actually to play out this way. But like people voluntarily like go have themselves killed or they die running. And the idea being that they'll be reborn and they'll come back. And that's how life works.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's pretty wild. Like there's some weird stuff, like very cult-like. Like at the end, he's like screaming almost like a madman, like you can, it's all a lie. You can grow older and this and that. And like no one, they all turn their backs on him and keep walking towards the carousel.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of nuts. Like people really believe it. And I feel like that's, if you were ever going to have like a utopian society like that, you would have to like drink the Kool-Aid. Like that's the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was, I don't know, that was interesting. And then did you think it was cool? Like there was this scene where, it's a pleasure society. This scene where like the main Sandman, he's
Logan 5.
Yeah, Logan 5, obviously. But Logan, he basically has like a woman like teleport to his room.
Yeah.
And she's like on network. And she like comes in and they talk for a second. And then he's like, well, shall we have sex? And she's like, no. But like, when I saw that, I thought of like Tinder.
Well, because there's that person who pops up before and he's like, nope, just like slides it. Like they disappear and then she appears. Yeah.
And I was like, wow. And it's crazy because she like declines his offer to have sex. And he's like casually kind of like, well, why are you like into women or whatever? Like, why were you on the network if you don't want to hook up? Yeah. And she's like, no, I don't know. I thought I wanted something, but I don't. And like nothing happens. But like there was this idea that like almost like Tinder, like if you're on there and you say yes to, and you go meet up, like, oh, obviously you can say no to sex, but it's expected.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, yeah, I mean, why else are you here? Right. Like that's why we're on Tinder. And I was like, holy shit, dude, this is actually like really prescient, like really kind of cool in a weird way.
Yeah. No, I think there was a lot there that I thought like would be worth revisiting. Right. Like there's a lot of looks at the future that were surprisingly accurate. This whole, I don't know where the world was in the 70s given plastic surgery, but you think especially now with like plastic surgeons talking about how people are coming to them with like the perfect like AI face.
Yeah.
And they're like, make me like this. And that's literally what it is. He goes into this room to get a new face so he can run away, and disappear more easily.
I like that for special effects. That was a pretty cool scene.
And that was like but I thought that was super prescient because he goes in and the guy's like, oh yeah, we can just do this. And like he plugs it into this little like laser machine and it just like, woo, it's going to like reshape his face. And I'm like, whoa, that's trippy.
Yeah. There was some cool stuff. I mean, he had like almost like it looked like an iPod, but essentially like a phone that like showed him the face of whoever he was chasing. He could communicate with people. You assume it could probably do more than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But even going back to that theme of like age, I thought it was hilarious that like at the end when they all see an old man, they all sort of like marvel
They're like, whoa, we've never seen that before.
Yeah,
That's
like,
wild.
whoa, like you can get that old. I didn't know it. Like people could live that long. I didn't know.
Yeah, right.
Like I thought you just go up for renewal and that's like the end of life. It would be like if people came and told us like, hey, when you guys all die, like you don't have to die. And you're like, wait, what? Everybody's been dying. Like they're like,
You can just
no.
choose not to.
Yeah, no. I mean, if you guys just get a new heart, you could live another 100 years. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. Like, that's not how it works. And they're like, no, it is. Like, it's that simple.
That's simple. And you're like, what? Yeah. It's
Yeah, kind
definitely
of crazy.
interesting.
Yeah, the action, like, there's so much of it. Like, some of the dialogue is very, I don't know.
It's very much a product of its time. It's a little on nose. It
Yeah, it's a
feels
little
very
on the
Star
nose.
Trekky. Even kind of the look of the people and the sterile world that they're in feels heavily influenced by Star Trek, the original series.
I might listen to that sci-fi score. I mean, the sci-fi like elements were pretty cool. It's funny because like when they show the old man or even some of the scenes where they're like exploring outside like the city, it gets more orchestral, like organic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought that was
when they're
sort
in
of
the dome, it's very techno,
like very
synthesized.
techno synth. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Thought that was kind of interesting. I mean, it was noticeable, so they may have gone a little overboard with it
Yeah.
just because I mean it stood out so much. But at the same time, I felt it was sort of like used well. And I enjoyed that. I'd probably put on that tech synth thing in my car.
Yeah.
Probably will. I'll probably check it out. See if
Sounds
Apple
like
Music
something
has.
you do.
Yeah. And then it's interesting too because you sort of wonder like how did society get this way and where does it go from here?
Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, it's one of the things where it would be cool. I mean, I know they made a TV series based on this movie.
Yeah, I
It
heard
would
it didn't
be
do well.
interesting to see how to explore it more because again, I think what the movie suffers from is there's this massive world inside the dome, which is very small, smaller than it should be. Then we go through the layers of escaping the dome, and then boom, we're out into this world that Logan and everyone thinks doesn't exist. They think it's radioactive and totally destroyed.
Yeah, ironic. You kind of see that in like Silo, the
Yeah,
show. Like, I mean, not exactly the same, but kind of where it's
I
like,
thought a very good comparison to this, and almost in some ways a remake of this. I thought was the movie The Island.
oh yeah, with Ewan McGregor. Was it Ewan McGregor?
Ewan McGregor and Scarlett Johansson. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Where they're like trying to escape. Yeah, I remember that.
yeah. And I was like, oh, there's a lot of
God, that's
parallels
like
here.
2003, 2004, something like
I
that.
think it's 2005.
Yeah,
Michael Bay
whatever.
before
Yeah,
he went
yeah.
full Michael Bay. Um, the wild thing about it though is like, you compare this movie to something like Star Wars, and the difference is George Lucas fills out every single frame with so much detail.
Yeah.
Whereas these sets felt notoriously sparse.
White walls, maybe something to look at somewhere,
It
but
was
a
a little
lot of
bit of
it.
the MacBook world, but like I'm just like, but it didn't feel like it was intentionally sterile and pristine, just so much as empty,
Yeah,
right?
I still appreciate that about the original Star Wars, really trilogy, is that I love how George Lucas, even if it's dunes on Tatooine, it just feels like a painting. Like there's just so much to look at different layers.
Mhm.
It's C-3PO walking, but like there's a big skeleton, and you're like, oh, I wonder what that was.
Yeah.
Like there's just always something intriguing somewhere about what's on screen.
Yep.
I always enjoyed that, but that's probably the number one thing that stands out to me about this movie is like this concept of like technology and pleasure playing out in a way where it's like they define society. It makes me think almost of like Wall-E, like people just sitting in recliners and getting fat or whatever, just watching stuff and doing the most pleasurable things they can do rather than like go live a life of hard work or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like technology enables this. I honestly think in a weird way, because it doesn't appear that anybody is married or in a relationship or for that matter, raising kids. it also feels like to a certain extent, like this movie has commentary on like women's liberation of that time
Yeah.
leads to a society like this where I'm like, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But like, almost in a strange way. And then like the idea that you don't grow old, it's like this dismissal of what old people bring, which is maybe their methods and their ideology and things are outdated, but they also have
But they bring
wisdom.
culture, they bring
Yeah,
wisdom, they
culture.
bring values, right?
Yeah, because if you look at Logan's Run, you look at sort of culture, you're like, does this ever evolve or is it just like this all the time?
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody that would ever, have nostalgia or anything for the past is gone.
Well, I mean, and I mean, and I think if you really look into it, right, it's kind of like this society of like hedonism, right? Because they're like,
What what
like
is hedonism?
like just like living for pleasure in the moment,
Oh, okay, okay.
right? And that's what it is because they don't have meaningful work, right? There's nothing, they're not looking to build legacy, they're not looking to establish family. They're only focused on the living in the moment for the here and the now. And
Yeah.
everything within a society that would give you pause and make you think about, whoa, maybe there's something more here, has been eliminated, right? The
Yeah.
computer determines what they're supposed to do. And within that framework, they all just live life full of pleasure. And when they have to, pay their dues, they do. And it's kind
Yeah.
of like, it's
It's
kind of
kind of
trippy.
it's kind of weird because like we've heard some rhetoric like that in a strange way, particularly from like Elon Musk, where he's like AI and robotics will get so advanced that he's like humans won't have to work anymore and they can just do more pleasurable things. We'll just introduce UBI and universal basic income and we'll take care of people's basic needs. But I think what this movie is showing is like if you do that, it comes sort of at a cost, which is in this case people's literal lives. Like
Mhm.
you maybe you will get a stretch of that, but like we can't all just live and do whatever we want all the time. If we did, we'd have to start probably killing people off.
Yeah, it's kind of wild.
So, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting as a time capsule to go back. I wonder, I guess I'm curious of all the remakes that we've got over the years. How come you don't think we've ever gotten a Logan's Run remake?
I mean,
Or was it The Island? Or
well, no, I mean, I think you're right. I think it could be. I mean, especially when you look at, hey, now we're closer to, you know, the I think the harshest criticisms, as you said, of like the biggest, you know, social media, right? AI,
Mhm.
like that's what Logan's Run is in some way the type of world that those things are building to, right?
Yeah,
And so it is interesting because you're like, it is very ripe for a remake. And when you look at a movie and you're like, why are we remaking this? You're like, well, in many ways, it's more relevant than ever. I think at the time they were making it, talking about environmentalism, population, right?
yeah,
Shifting global demographics. Like, whereas now I'm like, well, now we're living in this world where we're fooled by social media, we're fooled by technology. We have the ability to do everything we want in a few short years and not have to work. Like, what would that do to
Mhm.
humanity? And we also have the benefit of special effects that weren't there when this movie was originally made. And I'm willing to bet that it could be really freaking impressive looking. You
Yeah. I
need someone
actually,
like Denise Villeneuve to be like, I want to remake this.
yeah, I really agree with you on this. I think Logan's Run is a movie ripe for a remake. Obviously, the version that we just watched is a bit of a product of its time, but the commentary of the novel and even the overall concept of the carousel and renewal and even the idea, I don't know, like the book's a little bit different. Uh, so you could remake either version if you wanted, but just this whole concept seems like you could apply it in new ways to today's sensibilities and culture and different things. It'd be really interesting. Feels like a movie that actually, like, if you were going to do a remake, that would be perfect.
Yeah, right. Exactly why you remake it.
Yeah, like, hey, I also, dude, I didn't realize this except doing some research. I found out two things which were interesting. One, the main character who played Logan, which I think is Michael York. He's Basil Exposition from Austin Powers. And I was like, oh,
that's who he is. Yeah.
I was like, what? And then the other thing I found doing a little research, which was interesting, was I guess the movie changed the ending. In the novel ending, they leave. They don't come back. So I guess that was one of the conditions on making the film, was that they're like, no, they have to come back and sort of reveal to society that you can grow old and that there's more out there than this city.
Well, I also heard that the book, which I did not read, but I heard that the book was a lot darker. I heard that like it's much more deals with Logan's like obsession and belief in the system, with then becoming kind of disillusioned in it. I heard that Jessica, is much more integral in that story than this one, where she's kind of just like a tag along love interest, right? So would be, I mean, I think there's a lot there to explore. I mean, this is an MGM film, so I'm assuming that Amazon has the rights and could remake it if they choose.
Yeah, I feel like with AI, the advancements we know that are going to come with technology, with healthcare, with certain elements, and work and universal basic income, I feel like obviously you would set this movie further in the future, but like, would be interesting.
Right? Definitely would be interesting.
I'd be down.
So, not normally advocating for remakes, but I'd love to see this explored further.
All right. Yeah. I mean, hey, I'm not against remakes. I just, I know like right now they're going to do the live action Moana. And my guess is it's going to be like a shot for shot exact dialogue of the animated movie. At which point I'm like, what are we doing? Like, what?
Yeah. No, for sure, dude. I got you.
I mean, and for that one, we're not even talking about like updating a movie that like another generation grew up with. And it's like, oh, I can share this story that I love with my kids. You're like, Moana just came out like 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how long ago, maybe not even that long, but yeah, I don't know. If you're going to do a remake, Logan's Run seems like the remake to me.
I'm with you, dude. It would be interesting. Anyway, if you have seen Logan's Run, definitely share your thoughts. There's a lot to talk about here, and we're running out of time, so we're not going to go into it further. But we definitely want to know your thoughts. Ivor, I know you've watched it. If you haven't seen it, see if you can find it. I bought it on Fandango, but it's out there. Check it out, and if you watch it, let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, keep the conversations going. Appreciate everybody tuning in and listening to us this week. You can continue the conversations on filmmakerscompass.com, where we have a feed of all of our previous episodes, as well as links to our social media where, send us a DM, drop us a comment at FilmComp Podcast or at FilmComp Pod. You can follow me at Big Kid D-Man and CP.
You can follow me at NDCal5. Thank you for hanging out, talking movies with us. We will be back here next week. And until then, keep watching movies.